Yo, it's Prophet Apollo in the building. Uh, I got not a video. I mean, there's a video here, but I have a message to get to y'all. This is the main video. I'm gonna, the other one was like probably like 30 minutes, 40 minutes long, but I'm gonna try to make this one quick. But I'll try to. Uh, but the message, the title is gonna be uh, uh, a grace disconnection a disconnection like no other's disconnection, because there was this disconnection. It is what Judah experienced after the Last Supper. He experienced, there's something that's not spoken. It's not spoken in a lot. We know that Jesus was betrayed by one of the 12. It went from the 12 to 11. you know Somebody may be like, what happened? If you read the Bible, you notice the circle got smaller. That actually is just life. It still happens to this day. To this day, we have you have situation where the circle will eventually grow smaller. It's like actually is like that just it's like this. There's a circle draws smaller, the better, the more you see who's really with you. The enemy. The enemy. He likes something that's you know he's where there's where there's nothing wrong to be in a crowd of something, but it just it makes it easier. The enemy, he can find his way through a mass, and do something damages than to be a small circle. It doesn't, God is will for us is to come together. He's Jesus is he wants the flock to be together. To be in one, to be in one gathering. While the enemy want to scatter, he want to scatter the flock. So, but the message, is to talk about the grace disconnection. I have other message too, but this one, it's gonna be focusing on that, uh, and it goes back on my, past life. It's just a brief of my testimony. When I was, about, I'll say 2017, 2000, like way back before, I, 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 I turned away from my wicked living, sinful living, about back in 2000. I'll say 2018, along that way, along that time. Though I stumbled like one, a few times, but I was no longer. Remember, your flesh is what's gonna actually tryna. That's what's gonna be coming against you. It's as long as we live in this flesh, we're gonna be tempted. But once you were born again, once you like for me it was like the prodigal son, because I've been a Christian my whole life, but I left home, then I got back home because this world couldn't offer me what Christ offered me. I was blinded. I thought I was actually living like a righteous life in a way. I wasn't that messed up, but I was really messed up. Because even every sin counts. Just a little sin can keep you from going to heaven. Because in heaven is righteous, fully righteous. That's what the enemy, his goal is to get us out of righteousness of God, to doing things that's not righteous. But as soon as when you're living unrighteously, God will let you. He does not force us to be in His presence. He will let you go. He's gonna like, hey, you open up the door of the flock, the sheep. So He's gonna, let you roam off the field, But He's gonna talk to you as you're walking away. Like, hey, don't go there, because He knows, the enemy is waiting, about to snare you. So, but once you go off, you know, that connection is gonna cut off. Just like a cell phone, you go out of the radar and you no longer have the connection. So once the enemy pops out, once he gets you on a grip, remember when he gets you on a grip, it's not gonna be like something that's gonna be, it's gonna be like a burglary. No, he's gonna come at you. It kind of, oh, thank you, Father. It reminds me of the little red Robin. I think Little Red Little Red Robin. I think so. The Little Red Robin. It's like a little folk tale about this little girl who's going to her grandma's house, and she's carrying goodies. You know, she's carrying this. I don't know whatever. She had a basket with goodies in them, and the wolves was watching her all the way this path. She was told to stay on the path and not let anything distract her from finishing up this path. But what happened? She let down her guard. The word of God tells us it tells us that in the book of Ephesians. You know, it tells us to to be. I think it's in the book of Peter that tells us to be sober minded. You know, to be vigilant. Let me get right there too. You know, because I know those two chapters do talk about emphasize about how we need to be. You know, we need to be aware of the enemy's device, because the enemy, his goal is to, to pull us. He's a bad wolf, literally. If y'all ever heard of Three Little Pigs, it talks about everything in this world. It's so crazy. It's funny too how they take things out of the Bible and they replay it without giving credit where the credit is due. So the Three Little Pigs is literally it takes away from the parable of the foundation. You know how this foundation there's a foundation that's built on a solid foundation, and one that's built on a sandy. You know, but we know that, and then as you look at it, we know that the foundation that stays stronger was the one that was built with the solid material, while the other one that wasn't built, it just blew away. And we know that the wolf, that was the villain. The villain, it is the devil. Just but in this worldly sense, they take things out. This world will always take credit. The world will always. That's how the enemy works too. He's the one. If anything that has to do with pride, it is of the devil. And pride, it is when you have a gift from Christ. When you have it's about taking things somewhere and not giving the credit. Every credit is due to Jesus Christ. It's due to the Creator. It's due to the Most High God. You know. Jesus deserved the credit, but we in the word we're supposed to exalt him. He gives us everything, but the world has taken things taken his word out of proportions, or just took it out and now credit back where it's due. So, but in the word of God, and we know that in the book of I know in the book of Peter, it talks about putting on your whole armor, of protection. While in the book of Ephesians, it talks about, you know, being sober-minded and vigilant, because your enemy comes in, like a roaring lion, looking from whom he may devour. The devil, he is like a roaring lion. He is not he is not the loyal. He's not, if anything, he is a copycat. Remember, everything that the devil does is just it's just a duplicate. It's just a counterfeit. And I have witness in my life. What I do in person, the enemy will try to copy. You know, he's always trying to make a comment, but see, he knows you are on the right path. So he want to copy, he want to because he want to pull you away from the righteousness of God. So if he can copy you in a way, he can in a way still, because remember, he want to have a possession of you. So just by trying to quote unquote make a counterfeit of your ways, it kind of makes him feel good. Like it make him feel like he have a possession of you, but really he does not. He just have this air of image that he cannot, it's just what it is, but it does not have anything relating to you. But in a little Red Riding Hood, the folk tale, this girl, she's walking and she's just like minding her business. She's just like going on, just dancing, something like that. You know how little girls are, just little kids are. And the wolf's like, is he just watching? That's how the enemy does. He be watching. He's been watching us since the day that we were delivered. Remember, in the Garden of Eden, he was watching Jesus make Adam out of dust, out of the ground. He watched God formed them out of the ground. He watched as God told Adam not to, Adam and Eve, and then after that Eve was made. After Adam was created, Eve came about. But when God spoke to Adam and Eve, the devil was watching. He was just like you could say like a fly on a wall, just there watching, observing, because he was planning for ways. He's always like, he's always watching. If anything, he's the greatest observer, because that's what he does. He first watches and then he goes out. He goes and see, he's been watching me my whole life, and then he stepped in. Excuse me. And then he started trying to do things to pull me away from my Father in heaven. He trying to pull me away from God. He had he had his ups, for a good time, but the love, the Lord was, the Lord's love, grace and mercy and his faithfulness never failed. He came in and he pulled me out of the hold of the enemy. But that's the same thing he's gonna come after you guys too. He wanna get you away so you can so he can take you out of the radar from the signal, so you cannot contact the Lord. So because a lot of people see the enemy is not he's not gonna come in like the bad wolf with the with the long claw, because as we know, even the little Riding Hood, this little folk tale, you know, uh, which I think is a good illustration for this, for this message today. And I'm pretty sure these people have taken, they have taken it from, some elements of it has been taken. Because if you go right, the Word of God, because the Word of God is being longer, it's being around, like way longer than, the little writings. So this came out like, I think it was the 70s, maybe 1600, but we know that, all this, even though, all this thing, but I'm pretty sure, somewhere, but, you could correct me on that, but like, I noticed a lot of, a lot of trends, a lot of things out here, and, especially folk tales and stuff. If you look back, they usually like be, they have some connection to the Word of God, like, every folk tale will have some origin, to it. So, that's something I may have to look into deeper. But let's get back to the, to the topic here. So the enemy will, he's an observer. It's not only him and his legions. They'll watch you, watch you, watch you, watch you. They'll spend time watching you, like a fly on the wall. And then when it comes to time, when you start stumbling, remember when they're watching you, it's not just them watching. They're gonna have another one of them trying to tempt you. So it's like, oh, last year, this person struggled with this thing. And they're going to bring it up. Anytime you're dealing with a situation or a person who's keep bringing up your past or bringing up similar situation of your past that's dead and gone, you got to remember those people, that person is most likely on an assignment from the enemy, from the devil. They're all in assignment to bring you down. If a person is keep talking about, you know, how, how it is bad, to, you probably used to smoke, you used to smoke, in the past, you used to, smoke or do drugs, or you probably were a robber in the past, you were a burglar, or, you used to break into houses, you used to be a burglar, oh, you probably done some crime, you know, but the Lord has, remember, we're never too far from His grace and His mercy, back then, because we were blind and folded, we were lost. We did not know until the Lord took us out of the grip of the enemy. Then we are back. See, the enemy, his goal is to make you filthy. It's to try to make you something that you're not. Remember, you are who you are, but he want to put something on top of you and convince you time to time that you are that thing, that that masquerade, that it is you, but it's not you. Just think of it like another thing. Think about it with this holiday. Y'all know Halloween. What is Halloween all about? Being that, something that you're not. Oh, you could go ahead. You could be anything. You could be a hero. You could be a villain. You could be this and this. That's a symbol. And then we know Halloween is dark. It is wicked. I know it's not around here. We just beginning this year, but we know that it's dark. It is wicked. Halloween. It is a feast, a festival of the devil, literally. So, but we know in that holiday, it is empowered. The people go. No, it is empowered for people to go out and dress out like something they're not, and then to feel to be that thing. Because and then I know that when I remember, because I used to celebrate Halloween way back in the days. Excuse me, way back in the days I used to celebrate Halloween. I'll go ahead, and then I stop, I just stop. I thank God, that I stopped earlier, and then I have met some people too. I met this girl, I pray the Lord that she, draws away from this world because she seems to be a little bit closer to the world. She's kind of seemed to be influenced by the world because this world is not here to help us, to direct us, to go closer to God is to pull us away from Christ. Because the enemy has his grip on this world. He does not have his grip on us, but he moves things around this world, this planet. He's moving things like a chess piece. You could think he's moving things around, because he is a prince of the air. But above all is the Most High God. It is a creator of all, the heaven and earth. But the devil can only do so much. But if you play on his side, that's a whole different thing. That's what people don't understand. They want to play. They want to see. When I used to think, it was okay for me to go ahead and watch porn and do this, I thought, I could still do this, and it's not going to do anything. I'm not hurting nobody. I'm doing these things, and it's just gonna bring pleasure. I was lying to myself. As soon as I started doing these things, I was drifting closer to the enemy. It is like a journey. The closer you get to the devil, so, it wasn't something that I was aware of, but now that I look back, I was heading to that. Once you get closer to him, so close, you feel distractive. You feel distractive, like you feel distractive. That's why people who draw closer to him, they're not no longer the same. They're literally like destroyed. They become, they lose their mind. They become these villains. I remember there was a story, this is from a guy who was born with this. There was this guy who ran this, occultic thing. He worshipped the devil, and he was known really big in the United States. He had a kid, one of his kids got out, he never, this kid, he was in it, unfortunately, but at time, he got pulled. I was listening to his testimony. This guy, spoke about how his dad did a lot of things, wicked things. Some things he made him want to throw up. This guy literally, this is his son. His dad, his father, he passed away like years. This is like probably like 20 years after, no, 30 years after. And he's talking about a test. It still impacted him. He's still but he has overcome all this. But it just shows you how, the closer that you draw to the enemy. See, when I was living sinfully, you know, I was feeling something was being taken away from me. I watched porn. As soon as I watched after, I did things, I wasn't out here having sex with, like people, I wasn't doing that, I wasn't going out, getting girls over my place. That was something that I was hit with a lot. I had people, strangers, friends from the past that I haven't even talked in a while. They just pop out of nowhere. Hey, bro, what's going? It's a long time no see. Blah blah blah. Hey, you live on your own. You should get some girls over at your place. It's so weird. I had that constantly. That was the enemy because the enemy knows when he's about to lose. He's about to. He's about to lose you. He's about to lose you. He's about to lose. He's about to lose his grip on you. So he's gonna try everything to keep you in, because there's a season in life. There's a season of of reparations. This season of distraction that the enemy has upon us. But there's gonna be a season of grace. That grace moment is there. That's the reparation moment. It's where the Lord will step in again, like heavily. He's gonna literally trying to destroy everything that the enemy is doing, so he can literally, let you know, hey, you going down to a path that you were gonna regret. If for you're gonna regret to the bottom of your heart. More than that, like that's what he's gonna do. Like so, that's what happened to me. The Lord, he gave me that another, like grace moment. He was all along, but the one there's a period like a shifting point. That grace moment, it's like where he's gonna literally, for me, he pulled me out. He pulled me out of the crowd, out of among of crowd that I ought, not to be around. He just pulled me from the road, literally. But the enemy, though, he came at me. He struck me. He started like afflicting me. I was getting afflicted. I was like, the enemy, he had his agents all around. He had his agents all around, my friends, I have friends that we turned to foes, my greatest, like foes. I mean, I was getting hit heavily spiritually attacked, man. I was getting, witchcraft attack, you name it, other things. Like, I tell you guys, I live in a studio apartment. I'm a single young man, moved out. I just like, I must start living, just get going. But the enemy was behind. He's being followed, just like that little riding hood girl. He's being observing, observing, and observing. He's being watching and watching and watching. And his goal, it is to, to kill, steal, and destroy. But he does not want to come at you like this monster, like that what we see with the horn. He does not. If he come at you like that, what's gonna happen? You're gonna flee right back. For me, I will, I would have got right at the instance that I started watching. I would have tossed my phone out. I would have tossed every single thing. I'm like, I'm done with this. He knows that. So what he did, he comes in like the Mr. quote unquote solution. He gives you the temporal solution for a long term of suffering, of long term of, of suffering, uh, tormenting. Remember, he want to get you down there to hell. He want to bring souls down to hell. If anything, it's either he's going to possess you fully, possess you fully. He's coming after your soul. And then after he uses your soul, then he casts you down there. You go down as a prisoner. There's so many people who have, went after the worldly things, and they have forsaken Christ. Either they're coming from, from the church, or most importantly, they have coming from a relationship, a life that involved Christ, and but they have departed. They have become love to the world. That's one thing I never really done. I thank the Lord, that I never got him out of the picture. I always kept them in. I have always kept them, you know, in front of me. Though I was, though I was being deceived by the enemy, to believe that it was okay for me, to do these things and still serve him. That's when I started, you know. So the enemy, he's gonna try everything, but his main goal, you know, is to deceptively pull you away from Christ. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get to a point. You're gonna start recognizing his lies. See, I thought it was okay. I'm like, man, I could go ahead and watch porn and do, because I live in a studio. Especially when I moved out of this studio apartment, I'm currently living on, but the Lord, uh, the Lord has broken. He has made me. Over. He has helped me to overcome my challenges and my weakest point. Remember, his word says, in our weakness, he makes us strong. Or he makes us stronger. So I was in this place. This place was once upon a time the den. It was the best place, the strongest place of the devil. The devil loved this part. This unit was where he used to come in, but no longer. He can no longer come in. And though he may try this and that, but he has no authority in this unit. He has no first of all though, he has no authority over this body, over this soul anymore. He has no more authority, no more right over this body, this soul. That's the first mall. He may have, access this and that, that and that all around, around my life, but he has no longer. That's the greatest victory that I ever, that's my greatest, it's the greatest victory for the Father and the greatest victory for me to get back home, for me to get back on track, to get back home like the prodigal son, to get back right home, because the enemy, his goal, is to do anything, to keep you going and drifting, especially in the society that we live in, though. It's so hard and to recognize that you're actually going down a bit, the broader way to distraction when everybody all around you, they seem to be doing the wrong things, like they're loving the wicked way. They're loving things like they're living like the days of Noah. They're doing all these things like, like no one is going to judge them. They're living, remember, y'all remember that saying, the old, this acronym, YOLO, you only live once. It is true, but the motive of this acronym, it is from the enemy, putting to the youth, the mind of the youth, because I was in a junior high those days, something like that, around that time, when that term came in, it was a reckless type of way of, it was promoting a reckless lifestyle, as though, you could go ahead and mess up to that, and ain't nobody gonna hold you accountable. Like, you go ahead and do it. If you feel like, you want to break the law, because that's what people do, they'll do something bad and then they'll just say that, they'll just say, yo, they'll say whatever, that acronym. It's like what they could, they felt not accountable of their action. Like, it just let them go off the loose, just go loose and just do reckless things. But that was all part of the enemy. Because if you do that, you go about living life like that. You don't know when is your lifetime. You go ahead and remember, you will reap what you sow. So, if the worst thing is to I mean, you will sow, yeah, you will reap what you sow. So if you sow that iniquity, you do that, whatever, that the YOLO acronym, you go ahead and you break the law. You go ahead and you do something, you commit a crime, and then that happened to be your last day. Bam, you wake up on the other side, standing before the judge. That's Christ. And you find yourself, and after that, you find yourself right down in hell. That's the worst thing. That's the worst of the worst thing. Because once you're down there, there's no turning back. Eternity. And God forbid you end up down there. Anyone who's watching, but if you are somebody who's living unrighteously, you're doing things out here that is not right before the eyes of the Lord. I, I'm I am I'm urging you, I'm in a way, I'm urging this, get right with the Lord. Your days is not promised. That's the thing. When you have all these worldly things, I come from Africa, I thank the Lord, that it's not, I don't have all these things, like, I wasn't grown, I wasn't raised with all these things, all this, you could call it distraction, like, such and such, all this, like all these things, like, in all of these places that we go, like all these places that we got out here, I'll go, back home, we had the simplest things of life, the simplest, essential thing of life. We did not have all this possession, but we had the most essential thing. And I am grateful to the Most High, because the devil loves where his goal is to destroy, is to deceive many. When he deceived them, he captured. And that's what he's doing in this nation. Here I am. I am in America, but I know it's not just America. It is other nations like United Kingdom. It is European countries, China. I know there's some countries in Africa that are, they need fixing. Any part of the world, they need fixing. There's no perfect place on this earth, but there's some countries that are just better than others. Some continents that are better than others. But as living here, this country has, it has prosperity, such and such. It is a positive, but it is the biggest negative as well. Because, you go out here, people are doing things. We have all this thing that's being pushed on, like, kids are becoming disrespectful to their parents. That's the enemy he's gaining wins every time that happens. And for Christian, Christians, Christian are turning into lukewarm. How is it? How is it possible? How could that possibly happen? Because they're becoming lovers of this world. They have let down their guard. They have allowed the enemy to get them drunken. Remember, the Word of God says, "Be sober minded and be vigilant." You could go ahead and be vigilant. You could go ahead and be vigilant. You could go ahead and be vigilant. Let me trying to get this lighting over here. It's kind of dark on this side. Okay, there you go. You could go ahead and be vigilant, but if you're not sober minded, if you're not sober minded, what's gonna happen is this: the enemy, he's gonna get you drunk with the worldly things. You know, he's doing it. As I'm sitting down here, other side of the world, he's breaking to churches, sending in Jezebel. There's Jezebel in churches. They're going there in churches, and their mission is to tempt the pastor to get him to fornicate. If they can get him to fornicate, then there's an open door. Bam, the pastor will get bound. Just the enemy just needs an inch. That's what he's been trying to do against me. He's been constantly trying to come against me you know, to get me to just stumble once. All he needs is just once. Once you give him, and then he's gonna sprint in. He may go for 2 miles if he feels like if he's capable of. But the enemy, man, he's literally out here, you know, trying everything that he can do to deceive many. He has deceived many. A lot of people think, this life, it's all about partying, going out. It's all about, there's a season. There's every moment in life. There's a moment for everything in life. See, I used to be that kid who used to go out. I used to have fun, but I know this time of my life, there's stages in life. As we know in the body of Christ, those who are actually in this path, remember his sheep know his voice, and he knows the voice of his sheep. For those who are not in this path, like they're not in it seriously, they believe, everything is all dandy, everything is just all good. While there's so much chaotic that's happening around the world. As right now, we already know one of them, there's this virus, this coronavirus that's going on. That's all plan of the enemy. See, but now his plan is not. Remember, he comes to destroy. So he's in a way destroying. His ways, his wicked ways, is coming up to the surface. Ain't nobody safe. I mean, if you don't have Christ, you ain't safe. If you ain't got Christ, you ain't safe. That's how it is. Because remember, his goal is, to get you on a grip hold. So, anything, he does not want you to leave this world free as you were born. You were born free. That your birthright, what you have done, as since as you were born free. And to die, it is a different thing. You could either live this earth free as you can, or you're gonna live this life bounded. That's how it is for some people out here. They have this belief, like, man, they think, they can just go ahead, they just live today, and they're not thinking about the tomorrow, about their action. They're living like everything is perfect. Oh, it's okay, for me to just, mess up, you know. And I know, we may be getting we're in like 30 minutes into the video, into this moment, this ministry, this moment, of this ministry, this me ministering to you guys, you know. But I'm gonna,